And open the meeting for any public comment on items not on the agenda.
I guess I'll make a public comment. On behalf of ETOA, we're going to be submitting a suggested set of bylaw revisions. And I basically discussed it with the city manager and the assistant city manager, and the process for approving it is not clear. If I read the bylaws correctly, it sounds like it's a unanimous vote of the membership, which is never possible. Staff thought it was a unanimous vote of the board, so we're not sure what the process is, but they will be submitted this week. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Minute approval. Does anyone have any comments or corrections or a motion to approve them?
No comments, motion to approve.
And second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, so those are approved. Ronnie.
On to the executive director's report. Just a few things to note. In December, just want to let the board know that we did host a holiday luncheon for our operators. We had a Boston Market come cater, and it was a real fun little event, to celebrate, the holiday season and
I must have lost my invitation must have lost my name.
Next time we'll make sure everyone's invited. Mary was able to kind of throw us together very last minute, so we were able to pull some strings. So it was nice.
I think we were the
the drivers appreciated it. So, and then lastly, I think at a prior meeting, John Schuerman had noted that AC Transit had some proposed changes in service, and I just wanted to let the board know that I did provide comments to them on their Transbay recommendations. So the importance was just to make sure that the connections to Emeryville round stops that would help with the residential population of Emeryville meet the stop requirements. So, for example, if they had stopped north of Powell, then our routes serving the peninsula don't go north of Powell, they go south. So we were able to talk through some of those items, and I did try to encourage them to add a stop at the towers also. And then we shared our changes with them as well. So we've got a good rapport going with them.
Do we think that they'll act on your recommendation?
They haven't said otherwise. They haven't said they would or not. I tried to convince them that maybe the accessing through the towers might benefit them a little bit more, just by the way they get on the freeway.
Public.
It's a public open, process.
So it's sort of like workshoppy before they actually have formal public hearings, because as an agency, they gotta have a public hearing.
Right. They've had a lot of public workshops with all of the changes they proposed, and I think they're moving forward with a lot of them. But with the Transbay service, they had some issues, and they had some pushback from the communities of Oakland and I think Emeryville and Berkeley, where they had a little bit of some of the issues with the proposed plan, and they suggested alternatives to that plan, and I believe they're making the change to their original proposed routing for the Transbay routes. So, just something for the board to know that we are engaged with their planning efforts. And that's it for my district report.
Would you mind, I don't know if there's anything to report, would you just give us a quick update on what's happening over at the board stop? Because we've talked about that before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's two issues at the BART station. We've got currently our dedicated curb space. We don't have dedicated curb space. We've got a 500-foot curbside that we can use that we share with hospital shuttles, and we're having problems because our riders don't know where to stand all the time. We try to pull to the furthest to MacArthur Boulevard, but they're not always available. So we haven't posted wayfinding signage or merry-go-round signage until we have dedicated curb space and a place to put that, and where BART will allow us to post a sign. Now, I have been engaged with Mariana at BART, and she is trying to work with the city of Oakland, and she's having a hard time getting to the right person to maybe move some things around out there and allow us to have our dedicated space, and then solve for some other issues with the other shuttles that are out there. My next step is going to be, I'm going to try to reach out to Sabrina Lambert, the city manager, former city manager of Emeryville, and try to see if I can get the right person in Oakland, just to at least come to the table with BART, Emery-go-round, us, and the hospital shuttles to try to work out a solution that will work for all parties to get us dedicated space, but more preferred dedicated space in a location that's not so far from the gates of the plaza.
So, thank you. I would like to recommend you explore if there's someone at the city of Emeryville that might help you make that argument.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be good. We'll work together. Perfect. We'll be in touch then, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a comment about that? I'd like to suggest you get Zach, he's the director, the board director of this area. Because, that would, he would certainly respect that, because it's something in the area that he would make it work.
Okay.
My sons will make a sign and put it there.
There you go.
You know, look
And
professional
nice,
too.
yeah, exactly. Okay,
And then it'll be fine for graffiti.
I know. It's all about the permitting.
They're past that age now. They're raising their own children, suffering.
So, business item 1.
It's item 1. We'd like board authorization to approve the acquisition of 3 2016 Starcraft All-Star shuttle buses. These are the standard buses that we've been acquiring over the past 4 years via lease to purchase agreements. They're very favorable interest rates, and it's a 3-year term with a $1 buyout at the end of the term. So really, it's a purchase to lease to purchase agreement, not just a lease. Our fleet is diminishing. We've got quite a few vehicles that have gone out of service over the past year, and we've just lost 2 additional buses due to, and what I mean by losing buses, the maintenance costs for repairs are so high that it's not worth the investment and to continue to put money into these vehicles. They're well beyond their life expectancy, which is 7 years. We run them to 10. After 8, we consider high dollar repairs and whether or not it's worth the investment to keep them running. In these cases, it wasn't. They're beyond 10 years old. So we are now operating on a fleet of only 18 buses, and we have to have at least 5 buses to have maintenance rotation. So MV has offered up one of their vehicles again. They have a temporary vehicle on site that they use, and they've been putting that in service. So we've been able to meet service for the most part. But if we lose one more vehicle, we are going to have service impacts.
So will you remind us if this is all part of the plan we've looked at before, and the funding and the budgeting and so forth?
Yes. So in the packet, there's a fleet replacement schedule and a fleet plan that shows the kind of the projected financing for all the vehicles over the next 5 years. And we do massage this around in a little bit just to kind of, we don't know what bus is going to die first, so we're not sure what we're replacing until we know it's gone. So we've moved some of that around, and we've also are working with we had previously thought we would turn in, we have 2 transit coaches, Eldorado Nationals, and we've had problems with them, and the problems are more time it takes to order parts because they were coming from Canada. And the buses were out of service for 20 plus days a month, so a lot of time. And that was hurting us more than the repair costs themselves. So I was able to get in touch with another person at MV's, director of their maintenance, and he's got relationships with Eldorado National and the vendors, and he is assuring me that they're going to find a more local parts vendor and help streamline this process a little bit more. He also has a really good relationship with Peterson Trucks, and they are the designated maintenance company for all of the warranty work on our vehicles. So the maintenance team is really trying to be aggressive in making sure that our vehicles are put at the forefront of these maintenance providers. MV does maintenance also on the buses, but there are certain things they just cannot do. So we're going to hold off on the replacement. I still have down here early replacement, but I'm not suggesting this year. Possibly next year, we're going to give it some time to see how these new parts vendors work out for us.
When you're buying the buses, you may want to see what the availability of parts are. They still being made? Are they still a business? Because I used to work at parts department for bus companies. Some of those parts are very hard to get. That's who you know, but either they give them or they're not. So
Right.
it might be a little research here.
Yeah.
And also on the buses, if you didn't have all the seats coming in from the aisle, you were able to put them alongside the buses, you'd have a lot more capacity, and it'd be a lot easier for people to get in and out. Because each additional minute or 2 minutes every time the bus stops ends up at the end of the day, and you get the hour 45 minutes. So I think it's important to get people in and out. And then at the Transportation Commission meeting, there was a meeting, the commission broke into small groups to talk about transit options, and there was an ACN members in the same group with joint commissions, and they were saying that the underground numbers were quickly anyway to know that.
So in the packet, there is a fleet replacement schedule, which kind of shows the upcoming vehicles that are set to go out of service within the next year. After our bus 111, we've got kind of a break there. And we will have a little bit of time to build up some funds to either save the funds or just replace vehicles earlier, or just add to the fleet and have the vehicles on hand already and when the next vehicles start going out of service.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
How soon from the time these are approved, these groups are approved, are the buses in service?
Usually it takes about 3 months. And that's if the vehicle is available. And the vehicles are available, they're being held right now, they've been held for a month. And they can only hold them so long. And then you're dealing with whether or not they have to finish manufacturing them.
Right.
That will take longer. We have to still brand them, we have a few things that they have on, they have the LED signage they put in, bike racks, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm looking at the options on page 2 here, and I'm wondering if, given that time, if it would make sense to, if we do decide to approve the lease agreements, to also approve a short-term ability for staff to approve high-cost repairs, just so we're not stuck.
Right.
If all of a sudden,
Yeah.
You're short 2 buses.
Right. So we usually, if we
Maybe
have a
that's
high
already
cost repair,
something
we
you
already
exactly-
have the right. We can't sign the checks, but
Right.
we usually approve the high cost
Yeah.
repairs if we need to.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of paying over time versus upfront? Do we not have
Just
the
because
cash
we,
to run?
exactly, it's the cash. We want to have cash reserve, just to have money so we can float if our funding contributions don't come in the timely manner we want them. And it's just nice to have that cash reserve balance there. And since we receive our funding annually, the lease agreements just are more attractive just because we can plan on a $500,000 annual, payments on buses.
Okay.
As opposed to buying cash.
The hope that we've talked about here is that we can source capital from outside sources in the future for this kind of event,
Yeah,
in which case we wouldn't have to finance them.
It
right.
goes in a different direction.
Exactly.
And you're comfortable that the 5.95 is market rate for
I-
this type of, feels a little high?
I am. Oh, does it?
Does it?
I don't think so. I think most farmers are a little over 6%.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
get money
asking
for
if,
equipment, I'm paying 2.5% now.
Okay. I can
Would you
try.
like to finance our buses?
I was just gonna ask you, when the financing you have here is $147,000.
Mhm.
Does the bus, do we stand behind paying that money, or if something goes wrong with the bus, they can just take it from us and that's it?
No, it's pretty much a purchase agreement. It's pretty much like a loan and
So-
we're liable.
The bus system itself is responsible to pay the money.
Mhm. They are under warranty though, so any work that needs to be done on them are covered under a warranty.
For the entire 3-year period.
I have to check the term on it. It might be 3 years or more. I might need a little bit more.
Well, would they give you a warranty if you bought it, like a regular car or bus?
Probably. Negotiate what that warranty term would be. So I can look at other financing options and see if they can get us a better than, the last I spoke to my Wells Fargo rep, it was over 6%.
okay,
So that was a few months ago.
so for this type of purchase
Versus
versus other
type of
types
vehicle
of
purchase.
capital expenses?
Given what the bank's getting the money for.
I think it's worth asking. It doesn't sound like it's worth holding things up for though, but
No,
you,
it is.
I'll verify.
You need
I
a
agree.
decision
It's
today,
not
right?
worth, it's not worth the effort.
yeah.
Okay.
I will verify.
If they were 10%, I would lend you the money.
I would be seriously concerned about holding it
Right.
any longer.
Yeah.
Right, I think we need
So,
to just ask.
Okay.
If we can make a motion, I would
Okay.
make the motion.
How long have you been dealing with these
double
guys
check
for
with
years and
Wells
years
Fargo.
and years?
What's that? Oh yeah, we've been leasing vehicles from them for the past 5 years. Our whole fleet beyond half of our fleet is the same vehicles.
And their service is good as far as you're concerned?
The service is good, with the exception of having to deal with Peterson. But there's, from what I've known through talking through various people in the industry, you're not going to get around that.
Should we also,
Other buses have the same-
Peterson, you mean Peterson Truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I thought it was individual, it was all gonna sit on.
No, Peterson Trucks is who the warranty work has to go through. And so that's our only issue, is getting our buses through there under the warranty work. One other good note on these buses, they did upgrade their engines. They had like a Duramax something engine, some number, apologies, I don't know the name of it, but they've upgraded to a Cummins engine. So the price is up just a little bit more, but relative to the benefit of having a Cummins engine is good. It's a good upgrade for the vehicles.
So we need a motion to approve the investments then?
I think you moved that.
I move,
So we need a
I
second.
move for a motion.
I would second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Why not?
Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, that passes.
Thank you.
Now, Ronnie, this is what our budget assumed as purchases for this
Yes. We assumed
fiscal
actually
year
more.
or calendar year?
Calendar year, yeah.
Okay.
So calendar year, our budget is a calendar year. And it's within the budget. The only difference with this is that I'm not proposing that we acquire 4. I'm proposing that we would acquire only 3 right now, because my original proposal was to trade in those 2 El Dorado Nationals. So that would offset our costs initially. So I want to hold off on that decision. So we still have those 2 buses. We don't need the 4th one just yet. So I'm proposing 3 now instead of 4. But the dollars are still like within the budget. Okay, next item is Amendment 1, Professional Services Agreement with Demano Design Website Services. We hired Demano Design in the summer of 14. We were under a rather urgent timeline to get our website updated. Our website had gone defunct, basically. It was unusable. And he quickly developed a new website for us for the Emery go-round, and has been continuing to provide website maintenance services over the past year. And I'd like to extend his contract another year. He charges a rate of $75 an hour. And the type of maintenance he does is posting different writer alerts, board packets that we need to do, updating content on the website, that sort of thing. If we have any glitches or any issues with the website, he's there to help. He's very responsive, probably the most responsive web designer I've ever worked with. And he's asking for just a $5,000 allowance for services, time and materials through December 2016.
These are very good prices, just
Yes.
compared to what I'm paying, I'm thinking I need to change.
I know. I can give you his name.
Are you looking for approval for this?
Yeah.
Are you moving it also?
I'm gonna move this one too. We're moving along today.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Astronomically awesome pricing.
Okay.
All right. Next item, we've got in your packet the list of public comments that we received. We opened our public comment session in December 15th, and we received a good amount of comments, 17 of those comments. We had 35% in support of and only 11% not in support of the changes. The 11% was basically one person noted they didn't want the loop from the Hollis route, if you recall. We cut out the Vallejo Street loop to minimize time impacts that we had on that route with the bike corridor there and frequent blocked access. And she lives at the corner of Vallejo and wanted to keep that stop, so that was one comment. Other comments weren't really in vote in favor of or not in favor of. They just had other suggestions, such as an earlier start time for the Hollis route, and there may be a way that we can accommodate, and this is for actually traffic going to the BART station in the morning. So it's possible that we could just start service from the bus yard and run the route to the BART station as opposed to deadheading to the BART station. So we're going to look at that. It would have nominal impacts in the timing, basically, because we're already kind of deadheading to the yard, and we pay for gate-to-gate services, our definition of operating hours. So I think we can accommodate that request. In addition, we've received a few comments of people that wanted a Hollis stop added on 40th and San Pablo. Currently, both buses pass that area, but only our Shellbound Powell buses actually serve that stop. Hollis is typically overcrowded in the evenings, and we've just avoided that stop because we were already over too full. But apparently this is happening in the reverse direction for the most part. So we'll look at maybe adding a stop there for the Hollis route at San Pablo.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I mean, that's the big AC Transit hub.
Yes.
So what do you believe they're connecting to us to do? To get to BART
Yes.
faster?
Mhm.
Because if they stayed on their bus, they could get to BART, right?
Right, and I think it's a lot of the residents that live in that area too, that we have Oak Walk there, so a lot of residents are taking it and waiting at that stop to go to the park station in the morning. Or walking up from
Brian Carter was one of the people, and he and Jack live about 2 blocks down the
Okay.
line. And so
Yeah.
he uses it to take it to Park.
Okay.
I guess my question is, we always want to serve our
Paying members.
members. And so Oak Walk is one.
Right.
I don't believe, the Triangle's not in our service area, right?
Triangle's
So
not.
we are not receiving money from residents of the Triangle.
I believe that's correct,
I
yes.
thought it was
The
at least
city
a
pays
small
that, though.
part of the triangle.
We have to look at the assessment roll to see who's actually funding it. It's
Because
within
I
a
know where
quarter
Brian
mile.
lives, it's only about 2 blocks away from that.
It's got to be within a quarter mile of the stop. So if a triangle is more than a quarter mile from the stop, then it's not paying. It may be in the PBID, but it's not.
They live right behind the Yanagate School, which I think is only about 2 blocks. I don't think it's a quarter of a mile. I'd be surprised if it
Well,
was.
I'll clarify, I just want to make mostly sure that we're not serving AC Transit riders that
Or transferring.
aren't living in Emeryville or working in Emeryville, right? Like as a way for them to shortcut,
Yeah.
because that we can't do. I mean, that's not a good use of our funds, in my opinion.
You know, and the engineering report specifically calls out that the city will pay for the people that are going from 40 to San Pablo to North, so that's being covered. And I think you should make it a discretion of the driver for the Hollis route. The bus is too bad, and let them go.
Well, and that might overrule the decision entirely. If we feel like it's going to hurt the system even more, then we already have a capacity issue. We're changing the route so we can fix that problem. If this is going to continue to add to that problem, then we won't consider it. We won't add the stop there.
Yeah, but
Well, so what do you,
So these
These
are
are
just,
the
I'm just,
comments,
these are the
right,
comments.
yeah.
I'm
I'm
just
just
going
trying to
through some of the
understand this
things.
comment.
Exactly. And then the one big comment that we continue to receive is people want us to serve West Oakland Station. And I realize that West Oakland would be a benefit to a lot of the residents who are commuting to the city, but our ridership base is not all residents. It's a lot of people coming in to Emeryville. So we need to be aware of those impacts that we would be causing on other people taking the system in. We did have a survey several years ago. I will admit to that. But there was a strong support in keeping it at MacArthur and not moving it to West Oakland.
We did some survey work, some studies for public market as part of our rebuild project. In our office tower, the majority of people actually preferred to go to MacArthur.
Okay.
And the transit study that we had done by Nelson Nygaard also indicated what you wrote to raw areas, which was the travel times between the two stations are identical.
Right.
I think the other factor is that MacArthur has more transfer connections. So people that are trying to get out to East Bay or points north or south,
Right.
I think it's a more, I mean, really, there's just
Yeah.
more connectivity, I think, in MacArthur than there is.
It's the right connectivity for where people are
Right.
coming from. So West Oakland has a lot of connections too, but there's people that are going to the city bound.
Yeah.
So it's a different, ridership. And I do think that if for residents, if you're gonna go out of that, Rob makes a good point. If you're a resident trying to get to the city, West Oakland would be a better station because you've got more frequent service coming to you. But that's not our ridership. It's like 30% of our ridership, 30 to 40%. It's not the dominating part of our ridership.
What's on our ridership as of the last survey, or are we confident of that?
When we did the whole PBID analysis was done and the general, all of that, that's what it was, about 36%.
Pretty recent.
Yeah, in the last 2 years.
you could get a few special buses to San Francisco, it doesn't have to be every single route.
Well, and that's another point. There's already services going to San Francisco. though. We've got Transbay and we've got AC Transit going right here down to the West Oakland station. So there are options that they can take to get to the stations if they need to go. Some things don't exist, they just want everyone on the table.
The AC Transit Pump Route is a much better option for getting to, it runs every half hour.
Right.
And it pretty much goes right down 40th right now.
Yeah. The Transbay you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, I think, so this is something that's come up before and will continue to come up.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work to, I think, suggest that what we're doing is optimal for our, payers. I know that there has been an increasing, although started very small, interest in West Oakland to try to put some money to it and encourage service there. And one of our former board members, Lauren Westreich, now moved her business there. And I know she has interest in that. And so that may be an opportunity, just like we're running West Berkeley and making money. If people bring money to the table, there are ways to help serve them, but free stuff, hard to.
So it could be an addendum to the current service as opposed to a change in the current service, is what you're saying. It's something for us to
Almost like
consider over time.
possibly either like a separate service, like the West Berkeley
Yeah.
its own. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
If we had somebody who was paying a lot of the money for a bus there, and we saw some benefits to that, I don't want to say do we have any benefit or not, but
Right.
I'm not sure today on its face, just for our riders, without any contribution from somewhere else, there's an upside. And that's what I'm hearing people say.
Well, and it's not unserved. Which is what we're doing.
Exactly, right. That's the important thing, I think, is my comments back have been just, there is service there. It's not that you don't have an option. It's just
I've heard anecdotes from growing employers in Emeryville who are very interested in encouraging their ability to attract people who live on that side of the bay, that they may be doing, they've thought about shuttles and so forth, but so far I don't see that happening. If that's started to happen, that's how this whole Emery round started, is everyone was doing their own shuttles and said it'd be better together. So we want to be mindful if we start seeing that happening, because we could say, well, let us expand our service with your money and do that for you, so.
Well, maybe, do we have a mechanism for putting things like this on the agenda of, like a watch list?
or like, all you mean options, was that,
Like watching grass grow.
No. We don't have, we can all obviously keep an eye on this. This is the West Oakland Station service. When we have a survey, what I'd like to do is, if we implement service changes, whatever they may be, let's let it go out for a few months, and then let's get a good survey going. Sometime in the fall, and one of the questions will be from the writer's perspective. And it's very interesting because Rob Arias is from the residents' perspective, so I understand why his survey is so high volume of people wanting West Oakland service, because it's a different crowd. If we get our ridership, survey done, then we can ask that question again and see if people change their minds.
So that you've given us the comments,
Yes.
and then this says we're going to talk about next steps.
So we have a few options that we can consider. First, I want to say that we're getting a high volume of complaints. We can no longer meet our schedule during the peak period, even during the non-peak period. Traffic in Emeryville has gotten so much worse, and it's harder for us to get through, and our schedules are no longer attainable. We can't reach them. Poor Gina is getting complaints. People are very keen, and they are upset that we're not meeting our schedule. So we do need to make some changes, and sooner than later. So I think the options that we have before us are either authorize the implementation of the changes that we have proposed, or take a step, hold off on that, and we can adjust our schedules. And this is a big effort too. And this is it takes a lot for us to update our schedules, and possibly just supplement South Hollis with another peak vehicle. When we have extra drivers, we have been throwing a ghost bus out there on South Hollis just so that we can solve the overcrowding problem. It's not on the schedule, although we don't have a schedule anymore, so I guess it's just another bus running out there to pick up the overcrowded, passengers waiting. So we can put a Band-Aid on it for now, update our schedules. What this will mean is that our schedules will show that we no longer have a 15-minute frequency, we have a 20-minute frequency, because that's really what it is, 20 or more.
So what is your recommendation between those two?
My recommendation is to proceed with the proposed service changes that we had.
So that's your recommendation. Let's open it up for discussion.
I don't know a way that we're going to know if it's better or worse until we try it, so I think we need to try it and see. But I don't know that adding more buses in an already crowded situation where we can't get through, maybe that, to your point, puts a Band-Aid on it. But, right, we just need to look for a way over time to solve the problem. Right.
Other comments? I mean, I'm glad we went out. It was pretty big time. This is not a ton of comments. So in general, I take it as most people didn't have big beefs about what was proposed, or they don't care enough. They're very few. Many of these comments are the same person saying 4 things, right? So I don't see anything that just says, "Oh my God, this is a horrible idea." And I agree with Melinda that you don't know until you try. And we're able to change things if you, just like you said, if you find they're not working. But asking you to continue to run it in its broken condition doesn't sound right.
Right.
Anything else? Someone else's turn to make a motion?
But I move we proceed with implementing the new service plans.
And I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? No. So that's passed. So Ronnie, what does that mean in terms of timing?
Timing, so we would have to, well, first we would do the buses, so that will take 3 months. But I think our critical path item is actually going to be getting the route guides done, getting the schedules finalized. We kind of ran some quick and dirty numbers on it just to make sure that we could secure the number of vehicles and operators that we need. We need to make sure we can do that. So now it's just a matter of getting the schedules updated. That's kind of a big effort. So I'm thinking probably sometime this summer, but I will try to target July, but it may be August.
We're going to ask you to do all you can for July. And will you continue to do the ghost bus thing that you said?
Yes, yes.
To try to make service as
Full as
least
possible.
degraded as possible in the interim?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
West Berkeley.
Okay, West Berkeley shuttle. So we were just here at the last meeting in December asking to approve the transportation agreement, and West Berkeley, or the Berkeley Gateway TMA rather, would like to duplicate service. So they currently have 1 shuttle running from Ashby Bar to the West Berkeley area. They want 2 now. They've already signed the amendment that basically to their transportation agreement that increases the daily compensation limit to accommodate the extra costs associated with that. We have built in some cushion there as a revenue source to the TMA, and just to make sure that we cover any overhead costs that may come with this. Typically, we do not have the high volume of overhead costs associated with it. We would also need to, so first we would need to amend the Berkeley Gateway Transportation Agreement to have the new rates, and then we would also need to approve an amendment to MP's contract to change the cost forms in their contract for just the West Berkeley service only. And all of that material is in your packet.
Any questions or discussion?
No, it seems really straightforward and routine.
Right.
Is there anything we're missing in this?
Yep.
We
think it's
still make money
We
doing
still
it.
make money, right.
It improves transit, and it's a service that some of our constituents may take advantage of outside our borders,
Right.
right?
And actually, they're looking at possible route changes that will possibly provide even better connections to Emeryville. So there's a chance that,
So there's a synergy.
yeah.
Yeah, this would be great if we could see this in West Oakland, for
Right,
example.
exactly.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, exactly. And I should note also that the city of Berkeley is going out for a key bid for West Berkeley shuttle services
Oh,
as well.
just-
So
If they did that,
yesterday.
obviously this agreement would be,
This is, I'm thinking that the Berkeley Gateway
Supplement.
TMA would probably, I'm not sure, I would have to, we're engaged with the Berkeley Gateway TMA on kind of their efforts and their involvement with the city and the new
we want to hire a private.
but they've already asked us. So we would just be, we're gonna be engaged with that basically.
Does the agreement that we have with them have a termination option that they have if they were to, it's a 2-year agreement?
It's a 2-year agreement, and there is a termination clause, and I think it's 120 days.
So if they did start their own PBID, they could get an opt-out.
Right, exactly. Or they could just
Supplement it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Other discussion? We vote, did we vote?
No. We need to.
We need a
Ready.
motion.
A motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Or abstentions? None. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, the next is the audit committee appointment. We have, per our bylaws, we are required to have an audit committee of at least three directors. Given our small board at the time, this is going to be a little more challenging. The three directors, and I didn't know if the treasurer cannot serve. We don't have a treasurer right now, so that's not an issue. The purpose of the audit committee meeting is just to meet once with our accountant and our auditor. He prepares the financial statements, they audit them, and they prepare the tax documents, and we just meet to go over all of the materials. The auditor kind of presents all of his findings and address any issues there, and then the committee comes back and makes a recommendation to the board to accept the report and approve the tax filings.
So you're looking for three directors to volunteer?
Mhm.
I'll be your first.
Thank you.
What's the time?
The time commitment, the timeline would be
Yeah.
April. The meeting would have to occur in April.
Anyone else raise their hand?
Or before, I suppose. I mean, it's for
So-
tax filing, right?
Our tax filings are due May 15th.
Oh.
So, yeah, as our type of corporation, so
Oh.
we usually get them in May. So usually mid to early April, we would usually hold a meeting.
I'll volunteer.
Okay.
We have to have three.
One more.
I'll do it, but only if Jen is in charge. And that really just means you arrange the meeting.
You gotta read the materials before and come with the
Yes,
questions.
well, I can do that.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.
You'll reach out with,
Yeah, you'll.
We'll reach out, get the meeting scheduled. I think they're still working on the materials now, so I expect that won't be ready for a few weeks yet. Okay, the next item is the review of the fourth quarter financial report.
Looks good to me.
It's, hey, 101% of the revenue received. We received slightly more of the PBID revenue, and we were.
How does that happen?
So we have an assumption, so we know what the PBID kind of assessments are going to be, but we don't know how much will be uncollectible. So we kind of make a guess at that, and so sometimes we get more than we probably would. So that's how it- we make like I think an estimate of like $120,000 for delinquencies.
so more people pay.
Yes, or new development came on sometimes, you know. Could be
Okay,
also
yeah.
a factor, yeah. And then our cost came in, I mean, I don't know how I do this, but it was 101%, so pretty much right on target. And even with that cash purchase we authorized mid-year, that was not previously budgeted. We had a $424,000 vehicle purchase that we paid cash for. We were able to offset the cost within the budget with the operations contracts, which we did not put forth an increase in service, and the professional services, Greg and Scott's budget came in much lower than we had anticipated as well, because of scope pushing out to this year. Any questions on the financials?
No action required, this is just for
Nope, just
information?
information. Yep. If not, then we'll move right along to the annual ridership summary. I just got a one-pager here that shows 2015 ridership compared to the 2014 ridership, and it just had a slight dip in 2015. We don't really have an answer for why. Maybe because
I think this probably is reflective of our maximum capacity. I'm not
I
sure
think it
people
might,
can
it
go
might be,
on
exactly.
before you
Very
put more
small.
buses.
Right, exactly,
But it could be a shift to the businesses in the area too.
right.
So I don't think it's really.
It's not exactly, it's too small even. But that's just, kind of just shows the graph.
These are passenger boardings.
Exactly, passenger boardings. Got almost 6,500.
And I'm wondering if there's any station reporting. When you do these totals, are you pulling it up from different stations?
No, it's just a count of boardings per loop. So they don't check it every stop, they don't track on and off boardings. They would need another person on board to do that for them. They have a clicker, yeah. Any questions on the ridership? And then we just for board's reference, we've got the 2 check registers for November and December attached. This is just information. We did receive our first P-bid installment under the new P-bid. Thank you, Sydney, for getting that through for us.
Thank you.
You're good.
For our cash.
Yes. And that's all I've got for
Any suggestions or requests from board members?
None right now.
Confirmation of next meeting line.
So the next meeting we will be holding, it would be in the April meeting. We're not going to have a meeting on March 18th, March 17th. So it will be, apologies, I'm going to get my calendar here. The standard date, the typical date, the third Thursday of the month in April.
All right, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn.